The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Universal health care.
I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not.
Are you going to make sure that people with preconditions are still covered?
Yes.
And there's going to be a period, if you repeal it and before you replace it, when millions of people could lose.
We're going to do it simultaneously. It'll be just fine. It's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that health care could be so complicated. The Republican Party will soon be known as the party of health care. I mean it, 100%. I understand health care now, especially very well. A lot of people don't understand it.
Oh, geez. Oh, my God. Oh, everybody. Thank God it's Friday, everybody. Thank God. Woo. Next week's going to be a doozy because next week we're going to get all these transcripts of all these interviews. We'll go over them later. But what I wanted to talk about was us today, because there's a lull. You know, like I said, you never know. It's Friday, what he'll do or say but I think he's saving it all up for tonight. He's got some off the hook. He needs a rally. He needs love. He needs a rally. So he's going to Mississippi. Oh my God, he's going to Mississippi. The education numbers came out. Mississippi used to be dead last. Well, move over, Mississippi. Alabama's joining you right at the bottom. I mean, math, reading, basic skills. Our education system sucks. It blows. Alabama is dead last in fourth grade reading and math. Mississippi is like the next word. It's such a mess. But I want to talk about us. I want to talk about what we are about, what we want to, elevate, what we want to get done. Because you can't do jack crap with him no matter what he says, okay? That was him. By the way, that mashup is over a period of 4 years. The very first clip you heard was 2015. The next was 2016. The one after that was 2017. The March ones were from 2018, and the last one was from 2019. The president has done nothing except remove subsidies for the least able to afford health care. I mean, this guy is a freaking genius, ain't he? He's a freaking genius.
This is why in a few moments I will sign an executive order taking the first steps to providing millions of Americans with Obamacare relief. It directs the Department of Health and Human Services, the Treasury, and the Department of Labor to take action to increase competition, increase choice, and increase access to lower-priced, high-quality health care options. Mm-hmm. So this is promoting health care. Millions and millions of people will be signing up for, and they're going to be very happy. This will be great health care. So congratulations to everybody.
See, I mean, tepid, right? Golf applause. Because nobody believed that was going to do anything. You know what that was? That was after he repealed the tax, the individual mandate tax for people who chose to go without and show up at hospitals where we all had to pay for the people who chose to go. We used to ask them to pay like $600 a year, right? And he said, oh, no, it's too burdensome. And now we're going to issue these bare bones policies again, the ones that cover absolutely nothing, that look good like a car in a parking lot. Looks good, looks fine, no dents, no nothing, no tires look full, you're going to kick them, everything's great. Until you need to drive it, and guess what? No motor. Whoops. So that's what that was there. Okay, so Elizabeth Warren came out with her Medicare for All plan that has been vetted, that has been numbered, that tells you how many don't have, how many bankruptcies occurred, who, is cutting their prescriptions in half, and what Medicare for All looks like and how she pays for it. So I thought this was very important because, I've said this a million times. My plan is a Blue Cross Blue Shield options plan. It's got a $6,000 deductible. Yeah. And it's $2,000 a month. So that's $24,000 a year I have to pay. And then I have to spend or use $6,000 worth of health care services before I get a nickel from the health insurance company, except for preventative care, like a well woman checkup or something like this, right? So you're talking to me about $30,000 a year. Now, that's extreme, I admit, because I went for a silver plan because, hey, I had cancer, right? But here's the real numbers for average costs. Average cost. Mine is probably, way more than you are familiar with spending. Probably a lot of you get your insurance from employers, which means that you're paying some premiums and they're paying some premiums. And wouldn't it be nice if that stopped so that you got the money back in your paycheck and they could pay the premiums into a Medicare for All system and pay a little bit less than they're paying now? Wouldn't that be something? So let's go over it, all right? The average family, I told you my crazy number, but the average family with 4 people in it that get employer-based health insurance, meaning they're only paying a portion of the premium, they're coming out of pocket $12,378. That's how much an average family personally spends if you get your health care through your employer. $12,000. Now, could you use a $12,000 raise? I think you could, but okay. Out-of-pocket costs and premiums. That's what it comes to for an average family of 4, $12,378. How many Americans are uninsured or, because of these stupid bare bones plans, underinsured? What does that mean? That means either you have health insurance that is bare bones, that is the car without the engine, looks good till you have to use it, or you have no health insurance whatsoever. 87 million Americans have either no health insurance or garbage. 37 million. Oh, by the way, that 87 million, you know what that comes out to? 1 in 2. 1 out of every 2 people either have a garbage policy or no insurance. That's just sad. 37 million American adults didn't fill a prescription last year. They didn't fill a prescription last year because of the cost of filling that prescription. 36 million people skipped a recommended test, a recommended treatment, or didn't show up for a follow-up appointment because of the cost. 40 million people didn't go to a doctor to check out some symptoms that they had because of the cost. And 57 million people had trouble covering their medical bills. The number one reason for bankruptcy in this country, the number one reason is healthcare costs. Between 2013 and 2016, the number one reason families went broke was still because of healthcare costs, even though 91.2% of Americans had some sort of health insurance in 2016. Now, it's gotten worse because he issued those bare bones policies that, honestly, you think you're okay, but you're not okay. I mean, when the bills come, they say, oh, we don't cover that, and we don't pay for this, and that test is not covered, and this prescription is out of net, or that doctor was out of, whatever it is, okay? So that's the lay of the land. Donald Trump promised we would have the best. It would be so cheap. He would get it to you. It was very easy. It was a simple thing. He was going to do it. Just like the infrastructure was so easy, he saved it for the second year. Well, now he's in the third year. Nothing's changed, right? And repeal and replace was going to be so easy. It was going to happen simultaneously. Nobody would falter it. Never happened. And he still blames John McCain. Although that was like the 45th try. So we have some options here. Stay the way we are or change things. That's it. Those are your options. Either accept the fact that the number one cause of bankruptcy for American families is out-of-pocket health care costs, or change it.
Things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Hey, everybody, here's Trump at a cemetery talking about health care.
It was a big ruling.
great ruling for our country. We'll be able to get great health care. We'll sit down with the Democrats if the Supreme Court upholds. We'll be sitting down with the Democrats, and we will get great health care for our people. That's a repeal and replace.
Oh, my God.
Handled a little bit differently, but it was a big, big victory by a highly respected judge, highly, highly respected in Texas.
Oh, my God.
And on the assumption that the Supreme Court upholds, we will get great health care for our people. We'll have to sit down with the Democrats to do it, but I'm sure they want to do it also.
At the cemetery. He's talking to you about a great decision made by a Texas judge who threw out the entire Obamacare. I mean, everything about it. The subsidies, the exchanges, the pre-existing conditions, the wellness free, the preventative care that's free. Threw it all out, this crazy wackadoodle in Texas. And Donald Trump is at a cemetery hailing this decision as a great day for Americans. All right. So you know all this, right? You know all this. So today, Elizabeth Warren, I don't know if you're paying attention to the 2020 campaign, in earnest. I'm not really sure where you are on studying the different proposals from the different candidates. But, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have been taking it in the teeth from guys like the moderates, like Biden and Buttigieg, saying that Medicare for all is too scary. Americans are too afraid. Nobody's explaining, and it's going to cost too much. So she actually went back to ground and decided to, do a study and to, consult with the greatest economists, with healthcare professionals, with a whole host of people involved with skin in the game in this particular issue of healthcare and Medicare for all, and how could it work, and what would it look like, and who would pay for what. And she put it out today, and already they're trashing her. And I looked at it. It's 20 pages. Okay, it's a 20-page long proposal. And if you look at it, you will see exactly, because she's very, when you have I was saying this to Scotty yesterday, actually, in order to make things nice and simple for people when you want to explain something that somebody doesn't understand, I'll use the example of football so you get what I'm talking about here, okay? So years and years ago, I wanted to get into football, okay? I just did. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was fun, but I didn't understand the game. I asked a billion men, to explain it to me, and they started with, penalties and touchbacks and, 2-point conversions. I'm like, whoa, I did, no. No. Finally, my girlfriend Diane, who happened to be Kip Winger's manager, was working at a rock station. So Diane Meyer says to me, I got tickets to a Dolphins game. You want to go? I said, well, I would. I don't want to waste them, though. I still don't understand football. She goes, what do you mean you don't understand? It's the easiest game in the world. What do you mean it's an easy game? Well, and her husband is an agent for baseball players, okay? And so she's got a very deep understanding of sports. So she says to me, here's how you understand football. You get 4 chances to go 10 yards, and if you do, you get 4 more chances. Now watch. And all of a sudden, I was in. This is the point. It takes a very deep understanding of a subject in order to explain it to somebody who doesn't have any information or idea about how it works. And when you find a person like that, you want to hug them. You want to love on them. You want to say, thank you. Why didn't anybody tell me that in the first place? Why didn't anybody explain it to me in the first place? That is so easy. I could wrap my head around. And now, years and years later, we're still friends, and and now I love freaking football, as you know. And I've always loved baseball. But, all right. So here's the lay of the land as I explained Elizabeth Warren's. It's really simple. Basically, what she's proposing is if you have employer-based health care, that your employer continues to pay their portion into a giant pool. Okay? Instead of paying it to an insurance company, your employer continues to pay their portion. You, however, do not continue to pay your premiums. That is like a $12,000 a year raise for each and every person. So that's $1,000 a month. That's Andrew Yang's freedom dividend right freaking there. Everyone gets, enjoy your raise, everybody. Enjoy your, God knows I would love it. I don't work for an employer, but I used to. So either we maintain our current system, which spends and will spend this is what healthcare costs in the United States of America, and it leaves out 87 million people. We pay $52 trillion a year into health care. That's over 10 years. That's our current system. 24 million people don't have coverage. Millions of people don't get long-term care. So like seniors and things like that, they don't get long-term care. Here's the little, dirty little secret about getting long-term care for your elderly parent. And it's something I'm, starting to face, right? Is your elderly parent who maybe was a successful businesswoman and put away a couple of shekels along the way, has to spend all of her savings. She has to go through everything she owns. She's got to get rid of her house, either transfer it to me or to Jessica. She has to get rid of all her savings. She can't have her little IRA. She can't have her, little Mass Mutual account. She can't have any savings, no investments, nothing whatsoever. And once she's broke, she now qualifies for Medicaid, and there's her long-term care. How sick of a system is that? So we pay $52 trillion as it is now, and 63 million of us have coverage gaps or these garbage policies that he now allowed back into the marketplace. And if they get sick, they'll find out that they just bought a car with no motor. So altogether, our portion, meaning the people who get employer-sponsored health insurance, get no long-term care. They have to pay $12,000 on average in premiums. And altogether, that comes to $11 trillion that Americans are willing to come out of pocket to pay because they're afraid of Medicare for all. Because they're afraid. Well, I don't understand the rules. I don't understand the rules. Here's the rules. You stop paying premiums. You stop paying copays. You stop paying out-of-pocket costs. You save $12,000 a year if you get employer-sponsored health insurance, and you give yourself a $1,000 a month raise. Your employer continues to pay their portion into a pool, into a fund. American consumers who get their insurance through their employer save $11 trillion. Goes right into your pocket. And the middle class pays zero increases in taxes. Zero. The money comes from where it comes from now, except it doesn't go to individual insurance carriers. It goes to a pool from the employer. And we put a wealth tax on fortunes over $50 million. That's the 2-cent tax. And a 6-cent, and believe me, that's not up to 50. They don't pay this tax until the dollar after 50 million. And then they pay the 2 cents. If you're over $1 billion, every dollar over $1 billion, you'll pay a 6-cent tax. And that's what pays for it. How hard is that to digest? And then you get to go to any doctor you want, whenever.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Well, first of all, the thing that we need to realize is people talk about the sticker shock of Medicare for all. They do not talk about the sticker shock of the cost of our existing system.
Right.
In a Koch brothers funded study, if any study is going to try to be a little bit slanted, it would be one funded by the Koch brothers. It shows that Medicare for all is actually much cheaper than the current system that we pay right now. And let's not forget that the reason that the Supreme Court upheld the Affordable Care Act is because they ruled that each of these monthly payments that everyday Americans make is a tax. And so while it may not seem like we pay that tax on April 15th, we pay it every single month, or we do pay a tax season if we don't buy, these plans off of the exchange. So we're paying for this system. We Americans have the sticker shock of healthcare as it is. And what we're also not talking about is why aren't we incorporating the cost of all the funeral expenses of those who die because they can't afford access to healthcare? That is part of the cost of our system. Why don't we talk about the cost of reduced productivity because of people who need to go on disability, because of people who are not able to participate in our economy, because because they're having issues like diabetes or they don't have access to the health care that they need. I think at the end of the day, we see that this is not a pipe dream. Every other developed nation in the world does this. Why can't America? And that is the question that we need to ask. We have done these things before. We write unlimited blank checks for war. We just wrote a $2 trillion check for that tax cut, the GOP tax cut, and nobody asked those folks how are they going to pay for it. So my question is, why is it that our pockets are only empty when it comes to education and health care for our kids? Why are our pockets only empty when we talk about 100% renewable energy that is going to save this planet and allow our children to thrive? We only have empty pockets when it comes to the morally right things to do. But when it comes to tax cuts for billionaires and when it comes to unlimited war, we seem to be able to invent that money very easily. And to me, it belies a lack of moral priorities that people have right now, especially the Republican Party.
Power to the people. The little people. Yeah, that's this is crazy. We spend 2 times more than any other country on healthcare. You know how much of our GDP and GDP, oh, by the way, this economy is so lackluster and slowing. You know, GDP came out at the beginning of the week, and it's, you remember he said 4%? If we paid $2 trillion up front over here, if we paid all this money, okay, to the billionaires, it would trickle down. It would trickle down. And we'd see business investment and a booming, supercharged economy. 4% growth. 4%. Know how much it was last quarter? 1.9. 1.9% GDP. The jobs report came out. We lost 36,000 manufacturing jobs. I told you manufacturing is in a real, documentable recession. So the country is not doing well. People are still paying out of pocket. Like I said, you know, if somebody took from me the burden that I have to pay for my health insurance and my out-of-pocket expenses, I would have $30,000 a year, $30,000 a year in my household that I could drive the economy with by buying things other than giving it to some insurance carrier. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. It makes no sense. And people are terrified because it seems all so complex. Well, it really isn't. What you want to do is lower the costs for the hospitals, lower the costs for the doctors, lower the costs for employers who pay for insurance, right? And how do you lower the costs? The first thing that you do is you realize how much of a doctor's income, never mind yours, we just went over yours, but how much of a doctor's office, of the revenue that the office takes in, goes to administrative stuff, meaning you got clerks and you got assistants and you got insurance specialists and coding specialists sitting in that office calling insurance companies every single day to see, can he prescribe this drug for you? Does he have to prescribe something other than that? Can you afford this one? Or is the biologic not available for you, right? Or which hospital do you have to go to? And does he have privileges there? 13% of all the revenue in a doctor's office is spent on talking to insurance companies. 9% is spent by hospitals talking to insurance companies. And 10% is spent by other providers talking to insurance companies. You cut that out, all of a sudden a doctor has 13% more revenue. The hospital's got 9% more revenue. Okay, so it reduces all these costs that are associated with the doctor having an office. And it reimburses hospitals. Okay, well, what about the reimbursement rate? I mean, the hospitals aren't going to like the It's 110% of the Medicare reimbursement rate. It's more than, okay? So, and there's adjustments for rural hospitals who have a greater share of patients who... So all of a sudden, you don't have hospitals having to eat the costs of treating patients who have no health insurance. So that goes away. That goes away. And that takes about 10% out of a rural hospital or a hospital that has a high senior population or a high Medicaid population, right? It takes away the cost of having to eat it when somebody shows up without anything. Uncompensated care, it's called uncompensated care. So that goes away because everybody is compensated, and they're compensated at 110% of what Medicare currently pays. I don't get why people are so afraid of this, but they're going to pound it into your head. They're going to pound it into your head that you need choice. You need choice. What's the choice? The choice is either I want to pay $30,000 a year to have a health care plan that I can't use until it's $30,000 spent a year, or I want Medicare for all. And I want to be able to go anywhere I want, to any doctor I want, whenever I need to. And my mom could have long-term care without having to forfeit her entire life savings. So she can have a long-term caregiver, right? She can live in an assisted living place, have an apartment, have friends, have a life, right? And also have a couple of shekels to spend on Netflix or to buy a book or a new shirt, a new blouse. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So American companies already pay a lot for healthcare. They pay $9 trillion a year. They're going to tell you her plan costs another $20 trillion over the 52 we already spend. Yes, but the employers already pay half of that. We're halfway there when employers who are already paying $9 trillion stop paying it to insurance carriers and start paying it into the Medicare for All plan. Right? You're halfway there. And then for the other 10, you have very large corporations and you have very rich people being taxed 2 cents on the dollar over 50 million or 6 cents on the dollar over 1 billion, and that raises the rest of it. What are you afraid of?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I also am here to stand with our unions, to stand with SEIU, to stand with CTU. And here's why. Because the unions are how we have a voice. The unions are how we have power. The unions are how we make sure that the needs of every one of our children are heard loud and clear. So today, I'm here because the eyes of this nation are upon you. They have turned to Chicago for you to lead the way, for you to show how the power of standing together is the power of making real change in this country.
She's very smart. And this healthcare plan actually encourages the formation of unions. How does it do that? Well, let's say that you are covered with your health insurance under a collectively bargained agreement. You're in a union and your employer has a collective bargaining agreement. Well, they will be able to reduce their payment in the employer Medicare for All compensation fund, right? They will be able to reduce their payment if they pass the savings on to you, the collectively bargained union worker. If they give you an increase in your wages, if they prop up their pension funds with the extra money, or any other collectively bargained benefits, if the union company does that for you, they can reduce the amount that they pay for your health insurance. And it is also available to people who start new union shops. so that an employer now sees the benefit. Like I said, employers pay $9 trillion already for healthcare premiums for their employees. Well, if they wanted to reduce that cost, all they would have to do is enter into a collective bargaining agreement with, unions, with union workers, and they could reduce their payment to the Medicare for All, let's call it a trust fund. And that is a way to incentivize the actual formation of more union shops. This is a very carefully thought out plan. And when she's thinking in this carefully thought out plan, she's thinking about workers. She's thinking about incentives for companies to allow for union shops, incentives to create collective bargaining agreements, incentives for them to raise your wages, to create a pension fund, to do other collectively bargained benefits by reducing their contribution to your health care. I mean, that's a very smart thing. It just is. Because the only way, listen, otherwise, what we have here is a country full of the richest people purchasing senators and House members and even presidents of the United States. And sometimes the money isn't even above board. Sometimes the money is coming from Dubai and Ukraine and Russia. And sometimes the money is coming from Saudi and, whatever, to buy favor, right? So obviously, H.R. 1 was a bill, the first bill that the House voted for that would clean up our elections. But set that aside and look at this health care plan and realize that this health care plan incentivizes companies to do the right thing, not because they're morally, concerned with you, the worker. No, they do the right thing because it's good for their bottom line. And it is. Now, as I said, we pay twice what other industrialized nations pay. $52 trillion over the next 10 years will be paid to take care of people in this country who either have substandard insurance or no insurance or can't afford the bill when it comes because of the copays or because of the deductibles, right? And so you have hospitals closing because of uncompensated care for these various you have all this mess, right? And so what does that mean? It means we have the worst outcomes, okay? We have the worst. We spend 17.9% of our gross domestic product on healthcare. Almost 20% of every penny that we make as a country goes for this ridiculously wasteful, horrendous, profit-driven, CEO-supporting, health insurance giant carrying costs, okay? We pay all this money, and what do we have? We have high infant mortality. We have the lowest life expectancy of residents of high-income countries. We have the highest infant mortality rate, and we have the highest obesity levels, which leads to other chronic illnesses, as you know, diabetes and other things. Some are manageable, some are not. And also, the costs are set incredibly high. When you look at the compares, like what can you get a heart operation for in various countries and what you pay here? I mean, it's a sin. It's an actual, it's just an actual crime. I got her 20 pages in front of me and I scrambled them. I think it's like $16,000 here for a heart bypass surgery. And in the Netherlands, it's like $6,000. And nobody's going broke. The doctors aren't broke. Everybody's happy. It's ridiculous. Daryl in Missouri.
Hey, this is Daryl. Hey, this is Daryl from Missouri. I'm a Teamster, and I pay about like $200 for a whole year for my medical and $1,000 for like major medical because my wife, she had like a knee surgery about like $100,000.
Yeah, and it shouldn't cost that anyway. But
I know, but I didn't pay that, But
yeah.
Maybe because I have great insurance. But my question to you, will I lose that? Well, I understand from what Warren said. I may not lose that because I'm union. Will I lose that?
No, you don't lose it. You don't lose it. What this does is it gives you health care without the $200 a year. It pays for your wife's knee surgery. You don't come out of pocket at all, ever. And if your employer, who collectively bargained this price with your union, pays you the $200 in salary more, or shores up the pension fund in the cost of, of the medical care that you are receiving, basically at no cost, then they will have a reduced payment into the system and they'll save money. So you pay nothing and they get a break and everybody's happy.
Sounds great, Randy. I hope that happens. I hope Warren gets in there. That's my favorite.
I do too. And or somebody that believes in Medicare for all, because I will tell you, here's the number. I was going through these 20 pages. A heart bypass surgery, like you were telling me about your wife's knee, $100,000, really, for a piece of metal and a carpenter, because that's basically what an orthopedic surgeon is. He's a carpenter, right? Okay, so for instance, heart surgery in the Netherlands, $16,000. Okay, you know what it costs here in the United States? Same exact surgery. $75,000.
Yeah.
It's the prices, stupid, right? Now, if your employer is going to continue to pay their portion, but if they take the $200 that each union member is paying per year, or the $1,000 in major medical, and they give it to you as a raise wages, or they give it to you and put it in a pension fund for you, they can reduce their burden too. So it's a win-win. Everybody's happy.
Sounds good, Randy. I appreciate it. First time, long time. I love hearing you and be able to talk to you.
Thank you.
You take care now.
You do the same. Okay, David in Missouri. Missouri. Everybody's concerned in Missouri. Good.
Yeah, David, you call me?
I did.
You forgot to add in the savings of, if everybody's on Medicare for all, there's no need for a Medicaid program anymore.
That's right, or the VA or any other ancillary program.
Yeah, or the chips or anything like that.
That's right.
When the people bought the company that I worked for years, they changed insurance companies 3 times the first year. We didn't have no choice. They talk about choice.
Listen, I know. I worked for the.
And then we found out. They started another company because they were underwriting the insurance plan. See. Mm-hmm. So it was saving them a bunch of money. They were able to start another equipment company. So,
right, they self-insured. Yeah. Right. Well, look, that's what happened to me too. I worked for what was Clear Channel, and then it became iHeart. Okay, and we every year. The HR person would meet with all the different insurance companies, and they would tell them what they could buy the insurance for this year with United, or if you bought Blue Cross, or if you bought Aetna, or if you bought Cigna, right? And every year you'd get a little memo in your paycheck, and it would say, oh, by the way, next year we're changing over to Aetna. And now your doctors that you had at United are not taking Aetna, or your doctors that you had at Cigna are not taking Blue Cross. Do you know what I mean? So that... Right. That's how you weren't able to keep your doctor. And that same thing happens with Obamacare. Same thing. The employers kept changing.
Clear. Mary had a little man.
The false. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a segment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
When you are dealing with healthcare, which is, 18% of our GDP?
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about $3.5 trillion a year. And you have insurance companies that make billions and billions of dollars in profit. Let me give you an example, if I might, of the dysfunctionality of the current healthcare system. Recently, Aetna merged with CVS. You may recall that. Big merger, which in my view will drive healthcare costs up.
Right.
The gentleman who was head of Aetna's named Mr. Bertolini. You know what he got for putting together that merger? He got a $500 million bonus.
Oh, my God.
Do you think that's how we should spend healthcare dollars?
I mean, I think everybody is in agreement that healthcare needs to be fixed in this country. The question is how. And my question to you was, it will drive up taxes to pay for healthcare. And not just the wealthy will pay for that. The middle class will also pay for it.
Very good.
So how do you justify it? And
all right, Martha, what are you not including in your discussion?
You tell me.
Premiums.
You're not going to pay any health insurance premiums.
You're going to pay one way or the other.
But look.
I didn't say one way or the other.
Martha.
Whether it's in your income tax or your payroll tax, you're going to pay.
Look, healthcare is not free. You never heard me suggest that we're going to magically...
You just said it was going to be free for everyone.
It's going to be free at the point of when you use it, okay? And you go to... Why are you so shocked by this?
Because someone's going to pay.
Somebody is going to pay.
Who are they? Who pays?
Okay. One second.
Okay,
Relax.
I'm just asking.
We'll be talking.
Please.
We'll get through this together.
It's a common question.
Okay.
We had
All right.
we had so many email questions.
Okay.
Ask Senator Sanders how he is
Fair
going
enough.
to pay.
I got it.
It's a fair
But the first thing, let's just say
Shut
hypothetically.
Okay.
You are self-employed, and you've got a husband and 2 kids, okay? Family of 4.
Right.
Do you know how much that family is paying today for health care?
How many?
$28,000 a year.
Okay.
All right, we're spending $11,000 per person. We are saying to that family of 4, you ain't going to pay that $28,000. You're not paying any more premiums. Right. You're not paying any more co-payments.
Right.
You're not paying any more deductibles.
Right.
How's that? $28,000 you're not paying. But does that mean you're not going to pay something? Of course it does. You're going to pay more in taxes.
And do members of Congress who now have gold-plated health insurance...
No, we don't.
Well, they have a special plan that's outside Obamacare. A different plan. Do members of Congress, are they going to do that transition as well?
Damn right. Of course. Of course.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Okay, so that's Bernie's plan. Bernie's plan is that the ordinary worker pays maybe, $2,000 extra in taxes to alleviate the $11,000 per person per family that we pay now. Elizabeth Warren's plan is different in this way. Middle class taxes, because she said she would not sign a bill that raises taxes on the middle class. That is her pledge. And so that's why these 20 pages matter today. Her plan is slightly different than Bernie's. Bernie had a plan where you would pay $2,000, $3,000 in taxes, but you would not pay, you would pay zero for healthcare premiums, for out-of-pocket costs, for prescription drugs, for, co-pays. That all goes away, saving you. So let's say if you were paying $11,000 per person for a family of 4, right? He figured it would be $28,000 a family. And so you'd save $28,000, but you would pay $2,000 or $3,000 more a year with a total savings to you of $26,000 a year. I don't know anybody that wouldn't take that deal. But Elizabeth Warren's plan is different in this way. It raises no taxes on the middle class. It says that employers who currently pay their portion of your health care coverage and you pay the other half, pay that not to an insurance company, but pay that into a pool, and you pay nothing. So you save whatever your half of the employer-based insurance is. If you're in a union, we just explained to 2 guys in Missouri who seem to get it, and I'm very, very proud of you, that they're collectively bargained, health care, where they have very, very low premiums and very low copays. So $200 a year for a premium and $1,000 for major medical per year. That's a really good, solid benefit. That's phenomenal. It's why people like me are pro-union. But even that payment goes away. And the employer then pays into this Medicare for All fund. And if that employer returns to you in the form of increased wages, the $1,200 that you were paying for premium and major medical, then they get a reduced cost to pay into Medicare for All, thereby incentivizing other companies to go union, which is a great, great thing. Think about all the stuff that wouldn't have to happen anymore. No more health savings accounts. I remember when, the company I work for, all of a sudden we had these health savings accounts and nobody could figure out how do you use it and how much are they. They contributed $3 or something. You ended up at the end of the year with $84 in some health savings account. That goes away. Medical savings accounts go away. You don't need them anymore. Deductibles, co-pays, out-of-pocket costs, they disappear. Expenses that are medical related, that are, 10% above the gross adjusted income, the tax, that goes away. Nobody needs it. Nobody wants, right? And it generates $250 million in revenue just right there for people who are deducting the 10%. The rest of the money, like I said, $9 trillion comes from your employer. And the other 4 sources for her pay-fors is a financial tax, a 0.1% tax on large trades on the stock exchange. Of course, we talked about your employers, large corporations, small businesses, by the way, with less than 50 employees like us, we're exempt. And yet, our employees suddenly have health insurance, which would be such a blessing to us. I can't even tell you. Because I feel like such a loser because I cannot offer health insurance in our little thing. I can't. We don't have 4 employees to make a group, number one. And number two, if we did, we couldn't afford it because we keep enough just to get everybody a little bit of pay and everybody to keep the doors open. That's all we do here. You know, when we were on vacation, people were like, oh, you know, you take these quarterly. You know what we did when we were on vacation? Yes, I did go away, but guess what? Guess what we did? We added this piece of equipment that I don't think you can see, but it was $12,000. And what is it? It's a dump machine for the video because we wanted to be on free speech TV and they follow FCC regulations. And all we had was an audio dump system where, you know, if you cursed or whatever, I could dump your audio because we're on terrestrial radio. And I agreed to go on terrestrial radio and I ate the cost for the audio dump, which was about $3,000. Okay, and we installed it. Roy installed it, and we have it. But we didn't have a video dump, and that was $12,000. So these are the things that we invest in. Okay, and so to have health insurance offered to us would be a game changer for us. All right. So the 4 sources: large corporations and targeted taxes on the financial sector, and that 2-cent tax on the dollar over 50 million and a 6-cent tax on the dollar over 1 billion. And you sit there and you go, who makes the $1 billion? Listen, these health insurance executives, for example, one day's bonus was $500 million. You want to keep paying that guy and guys like him $500 million? Okay, and then we shut down the slush fund for defense spending, and we start thinking about where our money goes. And we do immigration reform. What does that mean? It means that people who are obviously working in the United States get a lot of them do have a tax ID number where they pay taxes, but they get no benefit at all. So if we did immigration reform, those people who have a tax ID number and who are paying taxes can actually pay the full freight, the FICA, all of it, and also get the benefit, which keeps uncompensated care at emergency rooms from happening. Then I want you to start thinking about other things that would change for you, other savings you would get, like bodily injury on your car insurance. Well, you would come with insurance, so you wouldn't need to buy it.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The function of the current healthcare system is not to provide quality care to all in a cost-effective way. The function of the current system is to make billions of dollars in profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies. That is the function of the current system.
Right, because it's for-profit health care instead of health care. You see what I mean? Now, will doctors still make money? Yes. Will hospitals still make money? Of course. Of course. These are professionals and businesses that need to survive and function and produce and hire and, of course they will. But when you consider that the $20 trillion she's talking about in Medicare for All, we spend $52 trillion over the next 10 years. That is what we're projected to spend on healthcare. That's almost 18% of total gross domestic product for lesser outcomes than other rich industrialized nations. Okay, so when you look at getting rid of the CHIP program, when you look at getting rid of the Medicaid program, when you look at everybody getting the same unbelievable access and go to any doctor you want, anytime you want. There's no insurance that he has to check and see if he takes it or she takes it or they take it or no. But you have all these payments that are being made for Medicare. You have all $6 trillion being spent on Medicaid, right? And the Children's Health Insurance Program and public employees, right? The government health. They just make the payments to the fund instead of to a for-profit health insurance company who's going to give a guy $500 million one-time bonus for merging a drugstore with a healthcare company. What could go wrong there? And so the total cost over 10 years of $52 trillion actually goes down. Is it expensive to have health care? It is. But like I said, we have two choices. I said, you gotta choose. Either we spend the $52 trillion and get the kind of outcomes we get and the kind of underinsured people that we have and the kind of, uninsured people that we have, or we make a change. And the change is who gets paid, and it ain't a for-profit insurance company who, believe me, trust me, they will find something else to make money on. They're insurance companies. And like I said, your car insurance, you know how you pay, for $250,000 worth of bodily injury? You don't have to do that anymore. Why? Because everyone will be insured. So there's no insurance you need to buy in case somebody that you caused an accident with ends up in, with a bodily injury and they don't have insurance. That's what that is for. Well, you don't need that anymore because everybody comes with insurance. Every American has insurance. And people who are working in our communities, people who are working in our companies, people who are working at, meat packing plants and in our agricultural industry, they have a path to citizenship, so they're paying taxes the whole time. And they're paying in, so you have no uncompensated care that the hospital has to absorb. I don't know what people are afraid of. I mean, this is the freest. See any doctor, any specialist, any hospital, any, right now, I don't know if you realize this, and I hope you don't, because that means that you've not had a terrible, terrible situation health-wise in your family. But if you need an ambulance and you call an ambulance, that ambulance could be associated with a hospital, could be a private company with a contract with another hospital. That might not be the best one for what's wrong with you. That might not be let's say it's a heart attack. Okay, it might not be the heart specializing hospital near you. It might be an orthopedic hospital that specializes in, knee replacement or hip replacement or back surgery. But that contract is going to determine where you go. You have no freedom. And you are in crisis at that point. And what are you going to do? Argue? You're going to argue with the ambulance driver? Really? That's what we have to do? It's ridiculous. This is such a bad system. And either you pay the $52 trillion and get what you get right now, which may be nothing, or we pay less than $52 trillion over the next 10 years and we get it all. Sheila.
Oh, God. God, you are batting 1,000 today.
Thank you.
I'm a retired, or 2 years now, critical care nurse.
Oh,
and
man.
I see what the lack of health care does, and it can be death. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, because you have hit everything I've written down some time ago on the points of why we have to have Medicare for all. And I don't care if they want to call it something else. I want health care for all. Mm-hmm. But the largest uninsured population in this country are our children. And in between the years of 2017 and 2018, under the orange wanker in the White House, the population of uninsured children went up 500,000 on what it was. And the argument that this great personal health insurance for your employer is so great is just buffalo caca. Mm-hmm. And because if you are a wage earner in the middle or low wages, you cannot afford to insure your children on the plan that maybe you have through your employer. I know because I have seen this and I've been through it. If you have one child, maybe. But if you have 2 children or 3, you pick a child if you can even afford it. And if you can manage to, because it'll always be more than what they deduct out of your paycheck for you, for the employee.
Right.
Because they're not in it to insure. They want you to be healthy just so you can stay working.
Right.
But there is no
incentive
for them, for your children.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything you've said about this is so absolutely right on. Insurance companies are there for the stockholders and for the CEOs and for the profit margin. Healthcare for all is going to be for healthcare for the people, and it behooves them to keep you healthy, so they're going to work for a more wellness thing. And one of the things that people need to realize is that we have a whole generation now of a lot of people who do not believe in immunizations. They have not immunized their children.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen measles break out in other countries. People who think that because measles was not seen for a long time, that it is dead. It is an RNA, not a DNA organism, if you want to call it that. And once it makes connection with something that has the rest of what it needs, it is alive again. And we have a whole population of people who now, when they were children and not inoculated, they may be of childbearing age now. And so they may become pregnant. If they are ever exposed to measles, the chances of that fetus being affected, blind, deaf, or other handicap, well, I don't want to use the word handicaps, but health issues are very high. We also have never seen polio for a long time, and it has made its ugly head come back again. We have people who have not immunized their children. A lot of these people are not stupid. They think they've researched it. They have been getting ridiculous arguments from places that make it sound good. Yeah. But in the meantime, we are going to see an uptick in some health issues that we haven't seen for a long time.
Well, thank you.
And we need to be prepared.
I know. Preparation, right? It's the Boy Scout motto. Thank you.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. We all owe a huge debt to President Obama, who fundamentally transformed healthcare in America and committed this country to healthcare for every human being. And now the question is, how best can we improve on it? And I believe the best way we can do that is we make sure that everybody gets covered by health care at the lowest possible cost. How do we pay for it? We pay for it. Those at the very top, the richest individuals and the biggest corporations, are going to pay more. And middle-class families are going to pay less. That's how this is going to work.
She's right, and she put out her plan today so that you can read it, you can see it, you can understand it. It's really simply written. As far as the words are not big, the concept is. It's a big, giant change. It's a raise for every American worker. It's a raise for every American household. And it actually provides ways for employers, large employers, to save money on what they already are paying. If they pass some of the savings on to their workers, they will get a reduction in what it costs to insure you. Isn't that special? Especially the union shops. If the union shops give wage increases or any negotiated, collectively bargained benefit, if they add a benefit or if they increase the money in the pension fund, shore up the pension fund, guarantee the pension fund, increase wages, then their portion of what they pay currently for your health care is reduced. And that is an incentive for every employer to have a union shop. I love that feature of this because right now what we have is individuals fighting for bathroom breaks with giant freaking corporations who are buying the Senate and buying the House and therefore changing OSHA and which is, workplace safety and, changing the labor laws and, saying, oh, well, we don't have to pay you overtime and all the things that these unions literally died for. I mean, you're talking about raises for teachers, just if you pass this health care plan. If you just pass this health care plan, it's $11,000 per person in a raise. It's like $1,000 a month for every American who pays something for their health insurance, whether it's a premium, a copay, a deductible, or all three. It's amazing. Dale in Nebraska.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I've been listening to your show for some time, but can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm a retired investment advisor and also an individual on Medicare. And I am so frustrated by the fact that we're being bombarded with so much misinformation on all of this Medicare. Just to give you a personal story, once I was on Medicare, I went in for a double knee replacement.
Right.
And the surgery itself was $45,000 per knee. And so when you add in all the other expenses, it was very close to $100,000. And since I was on Medicare with a good Medicare supplement policy, my out-of-pocket was absolutely minimal. And my prescription drugs for pain under the Part D came to less than maybe $30 for all of them. So when I hear these people demonizing Medicare, it just sickens me, because Medicare Advantage, as I try to tell people, is really what I call Medicare Disadvantage. I one time had a friend that was an insurance agent that thought those were wonderful. He converted a lot of his seniors to the Medicare Advantage.
Yeah.
And many of these people, after they had big claims, discovered the disadvantage excuse me, of those the plans. Well, the end of the story is he was sued and he died an early death and in bankruptcy because of the people that were so dissatisfied with this wonderful Medicare Advantage. So it's a trap, and these ads are so misleading to people, it's criminal. But
It
anyway,
is.
that's
And let me
the
ask
story.
you a question. So you have Medicare, obviously. Okay. And you're supplemental, okay, that covers
Yeah.
the gap, because Medicare covers 80% of the costs
Right.
you mentioned. The other 20% is up to you. Okay. So you you buy yet another insurance company's plan, right? How much
Yes,
how
that's
much were
correct.
you paying for that? About 300, something like that?
Well, you know what? I was on a Plan F that covered everything, but they are now taking that away. So I have jumped over to Plan G, which my out-of-pocket on that particular plan is $185 a year, and that's it. Everything else is covered.
I want the name of that, because Howard's on Medicare and we're paying $300 for the supplemental.
Oh, you need to shop around. There's better plans out there, Randy.
Email
And,
me, Dale, at info at
I will.
randyrhodes.com, info at randyrhodes.com, and tell me what I should look into, because I will until this all changes. This is crazy. And, my mom, too. My mom, obviously, is almost 90. She will be 90 years old in August, okay? And she has, obviously, Medicare, and then there's a supplemental plan that I get through a life insurance company for her, and that's quarterly I pay $1,000.
Randy, what the people don't understand is by going to the Medicare Disadvantage plans, once they get beyond the guaranteed issue of the Medicare, standard Medicare, and if they have a claim, then yes, they can, through the open enrollment, come back to Medicare, but in all likelihood, the Medicare supplement insurance industry then will not insure them because of the underwriting.
Well, we won't need it. They won't need it. Listen, here's the beauty of this. Not only
Right, the new Medicare for all.
We won't need any of this. Nobody's going to need to look at Part D, E, F, G. Nobody's going to have to do that. And it's going to cover your, this is a dirty little secret, too, with the elderly. And I don't mean to characterize you that way, but I'm talking about my mom and stuff, 90 years old, maybe long-term care is in her future. Again, you have to spend all your money to get qualified for Medicaid, and there's a 5-year look back, right? So she couldn't qualify for till she's 95 for long-term care because she was a professional woman and has a couple of dollars saved. Not a lot, but it's like it's ridiculous. That goes away. And her hearing aids, which are $6,000, are not covered.
I hear you.
It's such a scam.
Randy, the reason for that 5-year look back, though, is because a few years ago, they were seeing people dumping large estates into children, so the parents could claim poverty.
Well, how else were they going to get covered for long-term care if they didn't do that, right? I know, and they were calling it fraudulent transference. Yes, I remember. And Bush changed it. It used to be a 2-year, meaning you had to be broke for 2 years before you got Medicaid. And then Bush changed it to 5 years you had to be broke. Now, how do you make it through those 5 years at 90 years old? See what I mean? It's just such a scam.
Clear. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy. I have to tell you, it's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that health care could be so complicated.
Oh, for God's sake.
Seriously, dude, just stop. Now, tonight, the Lion King over there is going to rally. He's going to have a rally where he's going to relive his 2016 election again and do the greatest hits and all this crap in Mississippi. He really needs some love. And the Mississippians, who are like dead last in education, who are dead last in coverage for health insurance, Medicaid, etc. Oh my God, they're going to cheer for this lying king. It's just wow. But if you want to watch something else, we used to call it the Jefferson Jackson Dinner. It's a very, very big event in Des Moines, in Iowa. The first caucus state. So tonight, they've changed the name of it. So if you're looking for it, I would suggest C-SPAN. I don't know who else is going to carry it. It's certainly not, Faux or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe one of the cables will. I have no idea. But it's called now the Liberty and Justice Celebration. It is a fabled political moment where candidacies are made and broken. Obama actually, soared to the top. Bill Clinton, this is a make or break moment. They give hundreds of tickets away to supporters of various candidates. Downtown Des Moines is just packed jammed. People in Des Moines who don't attend, they're not happy about it. It's like when Trump comes to New York, one of those things. But so that's alternative viewing tonight if you'd like. Valentino in California.
Hello, Randy.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Yeah, I got such a headache right now. I'm sorry.
I do too.
But really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So it'll slow me down, which is good because I tend to talk fast. But you're talking a lot about healthcare right now, and I have some. While I'm waiting, I was just reading stuff on Facebook about people are so against it, thinking, "Oh, you're going to have to raise taxes on the middle class and the rich. There's not enough rich people to pay for it."
There are.
There are, right? Yeah, I would think we got to, since the tax cuts, we had a.
Why don't you do this, okay? Because there's so much disinformation, misinformation, and false information on Facebook. Why don't you post to them the Elizabeth Warren plan, the actual plan?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Like one of these pages, Elizabeth rolls out a new tax fund, and people just saying a bunch of negative things about it.
Well, that's because they haven't looked at it.
Exactly, and they don't want it. They think, I don't know. You know how it is. I hope that people just read it and learn it, and hopefully it'll do better. But my concern is like how we ushered in. I guess, does she want to do the 4 years, or she wants to do it longer or shorter? And I think Bernie wants to do it within 4 years, correct? And,
yeah, there's a phase in. 4 years.
Okay, and I wonder how it's going to turn things upside down. If it does, what's the problem you see out of it, or how do you do it right, Randy? Since you're
how do you do it right?
Very first in this. Yeah, is this solely state by state, or
no? You tell employers to stop paying these health insurance companies and start paying their portion of what they're paying for their employees into this fund, and all of a sudden the employees don't have in their paychecks, which a lot of people got today. There's a line that says medical insurance, and that goes away. That goes away.
Yeah. And I like the fact that we're paying it out of our taxes once a year besides paying premiums every darn month.
I am so sick of paying premiums. I am so sick. Like now, it's the first of the month, okay? I don't know where this year went, but it's already November. But my health care premium is due, and it's $2,069, and I actually dread the first day of every month because there's two expenses I have in my life, okay? I got my mortgage still, and I have my health insurance. And after that, there's nothing left. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
Thank God I live with, a guy who, put a couple of dollars away.
That's great.
Right.
And
but, it's bleeding him, too, because he's got to pay for the supplemental plan, and he's got co-pays, and his drugs, by the way. Howard's he's a great man, but he's got autoimmune disorders, a lot of them. And so he's on these biologics that you see advertised on the TV. But you know what no one tells you? No one tells you that your copay for these biologics like Humira or Cosentyx or all these things they advertise, Xeljanz, that your copay is $2,000 a month.
It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. So the two of us have worked our whole lives, and I continue to work just to pay for health insurance.
I know it. And so hopefully we get on board and get something.
Can you imagine what it would do for our economy if every person who's coming out of pocket like me on the first of the month, okay, me, my spouse, whatever, your family, every single person didn't have that deduction anymore. Every single person didn't have to pay the premium anymore. Every single American was saving on average, and for me it would be almost $30,000 a year, but on average it would be about $12,000. Had that money in their household. Do you know that America has an economy, and I've said this a billion times until you process it, I will say it. 70% of all GDP, the total of everything America does is consumer-driven commerce. It's buying things. It's us spending money online, in stores, wherever you like to do it, okay? That's what this economy is all about. And so if you juiced up that 70% of our economy with people having another $1,000 a month or another $2,000 a month, or in my case, my household, a $2,000 for a copay on a drug and $2,000 for a premium and $300 for a supplement. Oh my God. That's how you see 4% growth. You don't see it by giving tax cuts to billionaires and charging us $2 trillion for the privilege. You just don't do it that way. It didn't work. And I told you it wouldn't work. And now we got the GDP number for the last quarter, and we didn't get anywhere near 4% growth. We didn't get near 3% growth. We got 1.9% growth. So he can't say, we can't say we're in a recession because it's 1.9% growth. But I mean, come on. We can do so much if we had the money in our pockets to spend as we choose. Paulina in San Diego.
Hey, Randy. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I just wanted to give you a quick example here in San Diego, at least. My wife and I got exactly the same procedure done. I did it in Mexico. She did it here.
Oh, you're brave.
No, but let me tell you. So her procedure, because it was her procedure was in January, so we had to pay the whole thing. Her procedure ended up costing $7,000.
Okay.
Of which we had to pay $1,500, right? And our insurance is $500 a month.
Oh God.
Well, the exact same procedure for me cost me $500.
Oh my God. What, can I ask?
Sure. I had to get DNC. I'm going through fertility, so I had to get a DNC.
Okay.
And she had to get a DNC too for another reason, but it's exactly the same procedure. And it's ludicrous.
It is.
It's just ludicrous.
I know.
And if I can give you another example, I'm a physician assistant. I used to work at an office. I had a paraplegic patient that had been a paraplegic for 20 years. Every single year, twice a year, I had to write down that he was a paraplegic in order for him to get his supplies.
Yeah.
And if for some reason, there was a minor mistake on my notes, Even though he's a paraplegic and has been so for 20 years, his supplies would be denied. How is that?
That's
and it would be me calling.
insane. That is so crazy. That's what I'm talking about. And you know, you have like 10%, 13%, 15% in some offices. The cost of a doctor running his or her office, 15% of it is calling insurance company. Oh, you did. See, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
right.
We needed 2 more employees, and we couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford it. Right.
Couldn't
exactly.
afford it.
And that's why rural hospitals close too. Uncompensated care.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. It was very
Thank you,
personal.
Randy.
So
You keep the fight. Thank you.
You know I will. You know I will. Listen, everybody, have a really, really good weekend. Thank you so much for your support. We totally cannot do it without you. And as you know, so like I said, you got a choice tonight. You could either get really drunk and throw things at the TV by watching him talk to a bunch of people in Mississippi who have the lowest scores in reading and math ever recorded in the United States. Or you can watch the Liberty and Justice celebration in Des Moines that celebrates our candidates and listen to them talk about their policies, their plans, the things that are doable, the things that would matter to us. This is us. This is who we are. And we need to help. We need to know. You need to know.